so we got a science question that says, why do we dream?
I like this one.
So, we don't know. We don't know why we dream.
Can you answer this question?
No, I'm just kidding. I will say a little bit more on that. But listen. So let's even go back a step. We don't.
I don't know.
Scientists are not in agreement, and do not even have a really good, solid, one accepted theory for why we sleep. It is even kind of confusing. Why do we sleep? Why do we spend literally a third or even more of our lives conked out?
I think we sleep so we can take a break from teaching.
That is true. I just sleep to escape my waking nightmare. That makes me. No, I'm just kidding. There are some really interesting theories, and I think some good ones. And so what I wanted to do is maybe just talk for a minute about sleep in general, and then if we can kind of get to an idea of what sleep is about, maybe we can push in and get an idea of what dreaming is about. But if sleep is not totally understood, dreaming is very, very much debated what it's about, what it means. The argument for why we sleep, there are a couple different theories of why we sleep. People will say things like, well, sleeping sort of allows us, our minds, to clean house. There are analogies that are sometimes given, like you can throw a house party and you can clean up the house party, but you can't do both at once, right? So the notion goes that during your waking hours, you're doing a lot of things that your brain needs to be able to do to keep you alive during that time. But actually, your brain has lots of sort of housekeeping tasks that it might need to do, cleaning up certain neural pathways in your brain, checking in on memories. And those things have to happen in a time of sleep. There's an argument made that sleeping is all about conserving energy, that humans, let's think about humans specifically here, because if we get into sleep of other animals, it gets kind of complicated. But other animals, of course, do sleep. One argument has been that creatures sleep when their prey is not available. So, as a way to conserve energy. So, during the day when I'm able to hunt, I don't know, an antelope or something, I'm chasing after the antelope, but then, the antelope goes to sleep and I go to sleep at night. And it's a way to conserve energy at a time when I'm not actively doing those things. There are major problems with that idea. That makes logical sense, I guess, if you think about it. But there are major problems with that, including the idea that there is really intense brain activity that can go on during sleep. If we could just jump to my screen really quickly. This shows 3 brain scans showing generalized brain activity. It's brain activity shown through electronic signals. And the way that it works is the cooler colors, the darker the colors are, the more purple or blue they are, that's less activity. And the more warm the color is, as you get into green, that's slightly more activity, yellow even more than that, and then of course red and orange being heightened levels of activity. So you can see in an awakened state, large portions of our brain are firing. In an initial asleep state, the brain goes very quiet. We then enter what's called non-REM sleep, where the brain starts to pick up an activity. But then I have this other image which shows the difference between non-REM sleep and REM sleep. So we were asked about dreams in this question. So one thing that scientists do know is they know that dreams take place during what's called REM sleep. REM stands for rapid eye movement. It refers to the way that a person's eye moves underneath their eyelid during that time of sleep. And to get into REM sleep, it's sort of interesting. As we fall asleep, we go through what sleep scientists call stages of sleep. And it's almost as though we go deeper and deeper into a sense of sleep, although fascinatingly, the deepest level of sleep, REM sleep, is the area where we have the most heightened brain activity. Also fascinating about REM sleep, during REM sleep, we have this really intense brain activity going on. And again, if you were to lift up a person's eyelid during REM sleep, you would see their eye rapidly moving back and forth, sort of vibrating. But in fact, the remainder of a person's body during REM sleep is paralyzed in something called atonia. And there are people that experience, there's a disorder where people will actually wake up and still be paralyzed in their bed. Their body still hasn't gained movement. So there are a lot of different theories and ideas for why we do sleep, but there isn't a good consensus about it. And it's something that's really worth debating. Pushing a little bit more into the area of dreams, and I'll just continue to talk about sleep in general and maybe its function. One of the major things that has recently been talked about is the idea that what sleep allows us to do is it's an opportunity for us to process our memories. There's a suggestion not with a lot of evidence to back it up, but there's a suggestion that is that dreaming is really a moment for us to process things that went on during the day. That ultimately what you have going on is you have so much input during the day, just a million things are coming at you, and you are focused on the things that you're doing, but there's all kinds of inputs that you maybe didn't have an opportunity to think about or make connections between as you went through the day. And sleep, particularly dream sleep, REM sleep, the argument goes that that is a time when that all the firing in the brain is about making those connections. And you know, again, that it's hard for us to know exactly what the reason is, but what we do know is, and something that I wanted to mention here is kind of a cool idea, is that there is some good evidence now that one of the best ways to learn is to intensely focus on a task and then go to sleep. Because we have found that sleep allows us to sort of for some reason, it allows us to sort of practice and go over whatever we focused on and learned during the day. There's a guy that came out with a book recently. I was just going to show this. His name's Josh Kaufman. I watched a video by him recently. I haven't read the book. His book is called The First 20 Hours, and I'm not trying to really make a plug for him, but he suggests that you can learn anything to a point of being good at it in 20 hours of focus and practice, which is great because you compare that to like the 10,000 hours that is sometimes talked about as what you need to master something. The idea in First 20 Hours is that one of the main concepts he talks about is focus on learning something and do it kind of close to bedtime or in the evening, and then go to sleep. There was a Notre Dame study that I just wanted to reference also. The title is Sleeping After Processing New Info. Oh, sorry, this is not the title of the study. This is just the title of the article. But it says, Sleeping After Processing New Info, Most Effective New Study Shows. So there are a lot of different pieces of evidence that are coming out showing us that, in fact, we need sleep to process what happens during the day. And in fact, dreams may play a role in that. But again, I've said all this stuff, and really, we are still unsure, ultimately, of the true things that sleep does for us and why we dream. And the cool part about that, let me just say, I think it can be a little bit dissatisfying to have somebody tell you, you know, we don't know the answer to that. Science hasn't been able to answer that for us. But that's actually really exciting, and you should consider that science has been able to answer so many things, so many different questions for us. And so what's really most exciting is that there are still things that we're exploring and figuring out. And if you want to be a scientist, if you want to even just have a scientific mind, you could start thinking about problems like this.
That's cool. It's not all solved yet.
We haven't figured it all out yet. Maybe in a few years, but not yet.
That's why we need you guys.
That's right.